There are times in our lives, there are circumstances, there are situations, when it becomes necessary to remain silent, when silence seems best. No, I will speak today. What is the use of remaining silent? What's the point if we stay silent, if we talk less? What's the point? I will tell you 7 benefits that after hearing them, you will choose silence, because there is peace in silence. There is a need to be silent to do anything in life. Look, at the end of the day, you have to accept that you do and need to explain everything to everyone. You know that trying to explain things to those who don't want to understand is nothing but a waste of effort. You know that repeating yourself to those who don't want to listen is nothing but your own stupidity. Situations sometimes force us to remain silent, and the importance of silence is understood at that moment, when peace is found in silence. And truly there is a different kind of peace in silence. There are some important benefits to being silent. And you want to know what the benefit of staying silent is. They don't want to know what the benefit would be if we remained silent, if we spoke less. The first benefit is that the less you talk, the more you can be silent, the more you can focus on your work. More you can focus on your work. Because the more you talk, the more energy you expend, and the more energy you expend, the less focus you will have, and the tendency to make mistakes will increase. But on the other hand, if we remain silent, if we don't always open our mouths in front of others, then it becomes much easier to maintain our energy. We can reach the right decision very quickly and easily. Honestly, we can show off our intelligence. Look, being quiet doesn't mean you lock yourself in a room. Being quiet means that you focus on your work and keep your mouth shut. Your future plans, your life aspirations, your weaknesses, your strengths. Hiding everything, not revealing everything to others, not promoting it to others. You work on your own dreams. Being silent means that you silently prepare in such a way that people all over the world are at least a little surprised when they see you. This silence must be utilized in one's own work. You have to work towards your dreams. I'm talking about the dream that comes true, the dream that is important to you. Do you know the second benefit of being silent? This makes a huge difference in the efficiency of listening and understanding. You might be wondering, what's in it for you? We all listen. But there is a difference between listening and listening attentively. Sometimes we see that the person in front of us wants to explain something to us, but do we add more to what he says, or do we try to listen to him? But if we keep our mouths shut and give importance to those words, it will become much easier for us to understand the situation. Situation, his image, what he wants to convey in his words, what he wants to express, becomes much clearer to us. And the biggest benefit of this is that the misunderstandings that occur between us often do not happen. In a relationship, neither of the two is at fault, but we misunderstand each other. Or it also happens that both are more or less at fault, but we think the other is more at fault. To be honest, if we try to listen to someone carefully and silently, then the importance of their words, then we will be able to grasp the reason behind their words very easily. And through this, we will cheat less in our lives. Through this, we will be less caught in the trap of other people's words in our lives. When we try to listen to someone with our mouths closed and our minds open, we can understand what they are saying much more easily, much faster, and much better. Understanding is essential to reducing the mistakes we make. Understanding the situation is essential. Understanding the situation is essential. The third benefit of being silent is that those who are truly silent become much calmer emotionally, mentally, and spiritually. Look, you yourself know how necessary peace is, how important peace is in this world. People can achieve everything, but they cannot achieve peace. People can earn money and buy expensive beds, but they can't buy sleep simply because they lack peace. Honestly, the less we say, the less we will say about others, the more we can avoid the complications of life, and the more we can avoid the complexities of life, the more peaceful we can be, the more peaceful I can live. And it is important to have peace in people's lives. We all know how important it is to be at peace than to be happy. Honestly, it's a fact that every man needs a wife's intelligence. It is necessary for a wife to be intelligent and true. Wisdom will only come when we look within ourselves instead of others. I will shake myself. Look, try talking to yourself. The more you interact with people in this world, the more complexities you will face, and the more you talk to yourself, the more you will know yourself. You will know yourself, and it is necessary to know yourself. To be at peace, it is necessary to know oneself. Some people might think you can't talk, you do, and have the ability to speak, but I think that in real life there is no need to always reveal everything in front of everyone. There is no need to prove yourself good in front of everyone, to prove yourself truthful, to prove yourself important. Because at the end of the day, it's true that it doesn't matter what anyone in the world thinks of you. What you think is just as important. At the end of the day, if people all over the world trust you weakly, you will and be harmed at all. You will not be harmed, but if you start thinking of yourself as weak, you will suffer a great loss, because whatever you think, whatever you believe, whatever you accept in your life, that's exactly what will start happening to you. No, this is not my idea. It's called science. It's called knowledge. You are modern. You see this world through different eyes. Scientists say that what you think will happen to you, and if that's the case, then you need to consider yourself strong. It doesn't matter what the whole world thinks or doesn't think. When you are silent, when you speak less, you are connected to yourself, then you will be more able to value yourself. And when you are more able to value yourself, you become stronger mentally, spiritually, and emotionally. Do you know the fourth benefit of being silent? When you are silent, the person in front of you expresses interest in hearing something from you. The person in front of you's interest and attraction towards you increases when you are part of a crowd and the one who talks the least. When you start speaking, the people in front of you will listen more seriously, because you are the one who says the least. You see many people around you who talk too much, talk more than necessary, which causes them to be neglected by others, which makes them feel small in their own eyes. You will also see some people whose only job is to criticize each other, condemning each other, focusing on each other's negative sides. I don't know what else to gossip about, but what if you are not one of these people? If you are truly a quiet person, or try to create a quiet person, you will find that when you speak less and speak a little sweeter, people will like to listen to you more. And when people listen carefully to your words, they will attach importance to your words. And when others attach importance to what you say, your ability to persuade will increase greatly. You will see that people in big positions in this world rarely talk. They say it when necessary, do, and say it if you don't need to. Before they say anything, they ask themselves whether they should say it here or not. If you really think it's appropriate, say it, and if you think it's inappropriate, don't say it, because sometimes a lot is said by not saying anything. Sometimes the greatest benefit lies in saying no. You will see that there are many situations in our lives where we say no and it is more beneficial than it would have been. Do you know the fifth benefit of being silent? You can motivate others by staying silent. Now it seems like, how can I motivate by staying silent? Is it possible to motivate others through silence? No, that's not the case. But it is possible to achieve success quickly by adopting silence and focusing on one's work. It is possible to reach your goals quickly. It is possible to achieve your goals quickly when you stay away from the negative side of the world. Quietly give importance to your work. Focus on your work and work in secret. Then you will succeed in achieving your goal much faster. Then you will reach your goal much faster, and many have tried this and succeeded. One thing we need to remember is that people prefer to see rather than hear. When we want to show our work, when we can show our work, we will see that people are already respecting it. That's why it's giving importance, honestly. When you become the king of your field, when you become an expert in something, people will come to learn from you, and you will start getting more respect. And honestly, people will be more motivated by these than you, because you have practically shown something in your life. I repeat, you can reach your goals faster by remaining silent. You can stay away from the negative side by staying silent. You can stay away from negative talk. You can keep yourself away from negative society and negative environments. And this is what quickly takes us to the destination of success. Benefit number 6, and you will get this benefit only when you remain silent. When you speak less, your creativity will increase. Now you may be asking the question, how does being silent increase creativity? Grow up, because when we are silent, we are lost in our own thoughts. And honestly, when we immerse ourselves in our own judgment, when we start thinking a little more about ourselves, when we make positivity a part of our lives, when we think using all our minds and brains, then our imagination increases, then our ability to imagine increases, and this imagination helps us a lot in achieving success in life. Imagination is like a bird. The higher you fly it, the higher your dreams will reach. It is necessary to imagine. Imagination is necessary for everything, no matter where we want to take ourselves, how far we want to go, how high we want to reach, how successful we want to be. Imagination increases our interest. We can motivate ourselves very easy way. And honestly, if we keep quiet, if we imagine, and if we start thinking about where we want to go and how much we want to do, well, that's the problem. How can we solve it? When we give a little more importance to all these things, and when we talk to ourselves and answer questions, we become more creative. Being creative means we can create something new. We can discover new things by finding solutions to new problems. Creative people are made up of a mixture of many thoughts, giving space to new ideas and thinking about something new. And when we are silent, our mind plays something like this in our brain, or we could say that if we want to play something like this with our minds, we need to be a little quiet. It is necessary to talk a little less. Seventh benefit of being silent is that we can live a more natural life. If we remain silent, you'll see How quickly we became happy when we were young. A chocolate, a small toy, these were the reasons for our happiness. How we rejoiced with each new thing. How happy I would be for small reasons, for small things, but today, we are so immersed in the complexities of this world. We are so immersed in the negative thoughts of the people of the world. We are so lost we have forgotten ourselves, that we consider our lives insignificant, and we consider ourselves weak. But to be honest, if we remain silent, if we are not involved in all this gossip, all this negativity, if we can come out of materialistic thinking, then we can live a much more natural life and living. This life becomes much easier by remaining silent. It becomes much easier. Honestly, if you have fewer needs than other people, you will be able to live your life in a more natural way. To be honest, the more you think about your life, the more difficult it will seem. Again, the more you think about your life, the easier it will seem. Yes, it depends on what you think. What environment are you living in? Because a negative environment will never make your life easier, but yes, positive thinking and a positive environment will make you feel that life is beautiful. And nowadays, the influence of negativity in society is very high, so it is very important to remain silent to keep yourself well. So it is much better to remain silent than to be attracted by negativity. It's much better to drown in silence. Man's greatest enemy lies within himself. Our greatest enemy lies within ourselves, and you know what? Our uncontrolled emotions. There are some things in this world that are harmful in excess. One of them is emotions. Excessive emotions are not very beneficial for us. To be honest, when we have no control over our emotions, we are controlled by someone else. You will see this in many aspects of life. When you can't control your emotions, you will be controlled by another person. So, learn to control your emotions. You will see that because we do and have control over our emotions, we sometimes do things we don't want to do. But in many cases in life, it happens that we may not have wanted to do it, but maybe we did it because we had no control over our emotions. That's why excessive emotion is harmful. Excessive emotions should be controlled. You should have control over your emotions. In today's video, I will talk about how you can control your emotions. How will you control your emotions? How to control some of the extra thoughts that affect your life. Look, first of all, accept that if there is anyone your biggest enemy is within yourself, that's you. And you become your own enemy when you lose control over your emotions. You'll see that sometimes you behave like this. Sometimes you do things that you regret later, things that you feel like you shouldn't have done or shouldn't have done, and do. You know, when all these things happen, when we have no control over our emotions, you see, sometimes we fall under the control of others. Sometimes we take actions that we would not otherwise take ourselves, but others use us to force us to do so. Sometimes we are a little overly controlled by others. And this happens when we lose control over our own emotions. When we become overly emotional, your fear, your anger, your misconceptions, your trust in others more than yourself, your self-doubt, all of these are emotions, and these are the kinds of emotions that are not controlled by you, that are not being controlled by you, which are not under your control. Think about it. If you start controlling these emotions, if you can control these emotions, how much will change in your life. So what will your life be like? What will your life be like after you control your emotions? What will your life be like after you reduce your over-reliance on others? Try to think about it. Look, whether we accept it or not, if anger, fear, jealousy, sadness increase to an excessive level, if they increase to an excessive level, and if we lose control over them, then our lives become really difficult. Then our lives are not controlled by us. And without wanting it, we take some steps that we ourselves may not have wanted. And when we take some steps in our lives that we ourselves did not want, thinking about them later, thinking about them in the future, we regret them, we feel sad, we start to feel more pain by thinking about ourselves as the cause of our own suffering sometimes in life. But it happens that we regret something after doing it, and these happen when we lose control of our emotions and take actions that we shouldn't have taken or that we shouldn't have taken. And to be honest, if anger, fear, jealousy, and sadness increase to an excessive level, then no matter how talented you are, you can be destroyed. And it's not like these are just words spoken by that mouth. It's not that they are limited to just those books. Practically, it is possible. This is what happens practically. This is what happens in human life. When we become overly angry, we lose control over ourselves. When we are excessively afraid, we lose control over ourselves. When we start to be excessively jealous of others, we still have no control over ourselves. And when we feel excessively sad, we still have no control over ourselves. Try to understand here, what is emotion? Look, emotions are that part of your life, those thoughts, those feelings that make you human. You will see that when you are afraid, you retreat, then you step back. When you are sad, you lose confidence, then you break down. But if you start controlling your sadness and your fear, if you start to control your fear and sadness to some extent, you will see that you will win in many cases. And this is necessary in many areas of life. If you really want to achieve something in your life, if you really want to fulfill some dreams in your life, then you have to control your sadness and your fear. It won't work if you're too scared. It's not okay to ruin your own life, your own time, and your own self-confidence by getting overly sad. Honestly, it's proven you're uncontrolled. Emotions could be the reason for your defeat. And if you don't want to walk in life, then start controlling your emotions. Stop being controlled by others. And to be honest, if someone else knows your weakness, if someone knows that you are emotionally weak, then that person will also start using you, and ultimately you will be hurt. You will be hurt every time. Others will start controlling you. They will try to control you when other people know that you are emotionally weak. Many weeks later, you are controlled by others because others take advantage of this opportunity and use it to control you. So control your emotions. Excessive emotion is harmful. It's bad for you. Try to understand this. Look, you know that if people find out that you are emotionally weak, they will start using you for their own benefit. Understand these, because these are real, these are true. These things happen to every weak person. These things happen to every overly emotional person. You should know why it is necessary to control your emotions. Why is it necessary to control your excessive emotions? It is necessary to control excessive emotions. That's because you know a lot yourself, because I do. And think any person in the world wants to be controlled by others. Look, I've told you so far how excessive emotions can harm you. How can excessive emotions cause you harm? How can excessive emotions wreak havoc in your life? How can excessive emotion cause your loss? Your excessive emotions may actually be the reason for your defeat. If you want to win in life, if you want to take yourself to that place in life, then control your emotions. Control excessive emotions. Control excessive emotions. Now the question is, how to control it? How is it possible to control your emotions? Look, before you can control your emotions, you should know what to do and what not to do. And we all know that excessive anger is harmful. So when you get angry, overly angry, you start to notice one thing. Stop for 5 seconds and ask yourself this question. Ask yourself if what you are doing is what you should be doing, and do you do what you do from your heart? Are you doing it yourself, or is someone trying to get it done for you? When you ask these questions, when you try to find the answers yourself, clarity about your life will come. I should also ask myself whether what I want to do is not my uncontrolled emotion. You will see that your excessive emotions are due to your uncontrolled emotions. Sometimes you don't want to make a decision, but others force you to. How do you force others to take it? Because you think that the person in front of you doesn't think badly of you. The person in front of you doesn't feel bad. Sometimes you might wonder how to stop it, and to be honest, the person in front of you knows very well that you can't stop them. The person in front of you knows very well that you are emotionally weak. The person in front of you knows very well how to control you emotionally. That's why you'll see that before he says anything in front of you, he tells you some emotional stories and forcing you to do these things because he knows that you are emotionally weak. When you hear something emotional, you become emotional yourself. It is important to take a pause in some areas of life. When you get overly angry, take a 10-minute pause. Stop for 10 minutes. Stop and ask yourself, isn't this my uncontrolled emotion? Won't my relationship be ruined after doing this? Will the relationship not be hurt after doing this? If the answer to such a question is yes, then stop. So stop your emotions. Control your emotions. Control your excessive anger. Do you know what the biggest step to control your emotions is? To think a little before making any decision. If before making any decision, you pause and think a little about whether you should do this or not, whether you should do this or not, whether it will be good or not, whether it will be harmful or not, whether it is really beneficial or not, whether I am being controlled by myself or by others. What could my next life be like after doing this? When you think like that and ask yourself questions and answer them yourself, you will start to gain control over your emotions. If you can take the right action after giving the correct answer, then it is possible. After your entire day has passed, try to write a little or try to think a little while, lying in bed, about which emotions you were overly controlled by today, or which things you did today that you shouldn't have done. When you ask these questions and answer these questions honestly, your idea about life will become clear. The negative side of your life. Knowing the negative aspects of your life and knowing them, you can eliminate them from your life. This is the biggest step. The best step is to control your emotions. When you will know the bad habits, the bad things in your life, and after knowing they will release them, only then will you stop being controlled by your emotions. Only Then will you be able to control your emotions only. Then will you be able to control your excessive emotions. Look at the people, places, and environments that attract you with negativity, where you only find negative things. Leave that place, that person, that environment. Look, the people you associate with, the environment you live in, and the thoughts of those people have an impact on your life. And if you want to control your emotions, leave negative people and negative environments. You have to leave all these people, all these environments, all these surroundings. If you want to control your own emotions, it is only possible to make yourself the way you want to be. When you control your emotions, when you control your excessive emotions, you know how harmful excessive emotions are. How harmful is excessive emotion to you? Do you know about this? Emotions should be felt, but you shouldn't drown yourself in emotions. Emotions should be felt, but one should not get caught up in emotions. One should not get caught up in emotions. When you don't drown in emotions, you won't drown in the difficult problems of your life. I repeat, before taking any step in your life, ask yourself some questions. And after asking the right questions, start taking the right steps.